everybody, Mike Pfeiffer with Pfeiffer Hobby Supply, and today we're going to do update 9, and it's going to be a little different, not a little different, but it's going to be about the change on that back there. I spent all day yesterday, almost 8 hours, revising my plan. It'll be explained to you here in a few minutes, and then I plan on going out and taping it in the shed and see how it's going to fit and what it looks like. And if I got to make some minor adjustments, that'll be the way it is. We'll deal with that whenever the layout starts to get built. Just an update, of course, this is a holiday weekend, no information from the electrician yet, but I hope to hear from him sometime this week maybe. And I guess to that point, I suppose we should get moving on this so you don't fall asleep while you're watching me fall asleep. Okay, there's one other thing I wanted to add here. I've been complaining about the heat in there, and it is hot in there. The other two sheds that we have are fully insulated, top to bottom, and they stay relatively warm and relatively cool. And just for those of you who have, I don't expect everybody to read all the comments, but for those of you who were concerned and thought I should put a wall refrigerated unit in there and all this malarkey, I thought I had stated it in one of the other videos, but I'm going to make it clear here. I'm going to put a mini split heating and air conditioning unit on the back side of the shed from where you walk in the door, up high. It should be more than enough to cool that room and heat that room, and keep it at least keep it at some even temperature. And we will likely leave it on all the time. Don't know if we will, but we may. So I hope that clears up the heating and air conditioning and my whining about the heat. But we're going to move on from there and let's get into this. Okay, everybody. Here is the revised track plan. I'm going to try and go through it with you a little bit and tell you why I did it, and we'll see how it goes. First of all, the main reason for changing it was, if you notice, everything is double track. Okay, so I can run trains in 2 directions. I decided I wanted to do that. You can see that I have a couple of sidings, one in particular over here on the outside of this track. I have one on the inside track right here. There's obviously several ways to get around the train in the yard. There's also a siding on the inside track right there. So that being said, you can study the shape of it and we will discuss it a little bit. The 2 main lines, you can see them on the outside here, the purple and green. They are pretty much as they were. This corner is cut a little bit sharper. This is 15-inch radius over here. They're gonna just some undulation in the track here to make it look not so boring. It comes down here with the siding, goes around the back, along the back wall, makes a loop, comes in front of what will be the end of the branch line, comes along the front. You can see a branch line track there, goes around in front of the branch line over here and goes around the yard and then through this middle part of the yard here. Now what we'll discuss is there's not going to be a second level staging. Why? Because I now have my staging on the front right here. There's room here for the Santa Fe station, and I'm also thinking that I might want a little more room here, and I'll move this line in, take one of these tracks out, and only have 2 staging tracks. I'm not really sure about that yet. I have to see how the room works out when I start doing all of this. The yard itself remained virtually the same, only it's 9 inches shorter. And that 9 inches shorter was to make some more distance over here, where I added another almost foot to the depth. So you can see right here on the inside track where you could possibly come off and into the yard. And if you were on the outside, you can come across the double crossover here and you can come into the yard. If you're on the inside over here, you can make this turn right here and come into the yard. Okay? If you want to continue on and come into the yard a different way, there's several different ways to get in there. Okay? The layout plan as far as the yard, some tracks have shortened up over here and over here. Looks like I need to add one in there. But anyway, some of the tracks have shortened up and I'm not exactly sure how I will use them, so they can just remain like that for now. The engine facility is still the same with a loop. There is a yard loop that takes you back out onto the main line and over to either track by crossing that double crossover. So that being said, we kind of have that under control. Now for the branch line. Oh, also you can see that this track, these mainline tracks, they're going to start at 0 right here. They're going to approximations. These are approximations. 1 inch up to 2 inches, up to 3 inches over here on this edge, possibly somewhere in here, or however high I can get. Then start back down to 2 inches somewhere in here, and back down to 1.5. And then what I also have done is, if we take a look at the branch line goes through here. It's all at 0 along with the track in the front. The track in the back is at climbing. It goes around here. We have a lead that takes off, comes over here, so we can put some structures over in here. And at this point, the branch line starts to go uphill. So it will be at 1 inch here. This will be 1 inch higher than this. Over here I'm hoping to be up to about 1.5 inches, and for that purpose I tied the branch line back out to the main line. So you can go from the into the branch line, you can go down here, you can choose to leave the branch line, or you can choose to run around your train. You could pull your train in here. Hopefully you don't have too many cars. You could run around your train and you could get your cars and leave. In fact, I may have to make that longer. That's a thought. I may put a switch up here. Anyway, it'll take a little bit of work and it'll take a little bit of messing with once I start putting the track out there and doing the bench work and so forth. But now my staging's on top, the yard's on top, everything's on top. I have some climbing track here in the back, which will be good. There's 4 bridges right here. There will be some kind of a canyon that goes back in here. Don't know exactly what the scenery will be yet. I'm hoping to be able to put the oil depot and the junkyard over in this area, was my thought. But I have a whole lot of room for town buildings all over the place here, and maybe even some back here. I could even actually move that back if I need room. Sorry, bumped the tripod. But anyway, you can see that the map is showing me I have 22.25 inches over there, 22 3/8 here. I'm down to almost 18 inches at this little narrow pinch point, but I'm back up to, this is about 2.5 feet or more, 30 inches or so, about 21 inches here, about 22 inches here, and then I'm down to 84 inches, 84.25 inches or so here, 75 here. I'm also thinking, once I have it laid out on the floor, I may want to take this curve right around the edge here and take it over to the wall. Give me another 5 or 6 inches here, because as I've said in the other videos, one of my criteria is I'm going to have a comfortable chair to sit in and watch trains in there. The only part that's going to be a little bit of a struggle is the fact that this corner right here is pretty deep. But there'll be a rounded backdrop here, and I'm thinking about bringing the backdrop way out here and just running the scenery up to it so that I don't have to deal with anything in this corner, if that makes sense. In fact, I could actually leave that corner open. I don't know if I could actually squeeze my fat butt in there, but anyway, I could leave it open. But anyway, I'll bring the backdrop up closer to the track here instead of putting it way back here and have to fill all that in with no scenery, or scenery that doesn't make any sense. I still think I have room back here. I think I will have room back here, or I can make room back there by shortening a couple things right in here to put my mesa in there. Aside from that, I don't know what else to tell you. You can certainly just study the diagram and see what you think. I don't know what that is. I got that in there. What is that? Oh, that's my mouse. Anyway, there you go. The new plan, revised plan, all on one level. I don't have to worry about going all the way around the layout underneath and fiddle farting around because my staging's up here. So, that being said, I believe that's it for the diagram explanation. Hi, helper. What are you doing, Lex? Huh? Are you checking out to make sure I did everything right and measured correctly? Go check it out. Okay, gang. Obviously in the shed. I think that I have shown you the new track plan. You can see that this section is slightly wider, which makes the aisleway a little narrower. It gets down to about 18 to 19 inches over there. And then the loop from the end of the yard. Going around the end down here, you can see a little doodad in there, which shows up on the plan. This corner over here has become quite a bit deeper. It's about 4 feet out there, but we're planning on having some scenery, mountain scenery or something back there, and there's going to be at a diagonal, you see on the track plan that there's 4 bridges going to go across a canyon there. In the background, the main line will slope downhill and get down to about, I think it's 1 inch, I'm not sure, coming around this corner. I extended this corner a little bit out. I've got about 5 or 6 inches extension there to put buildings on. So if that doesn't work out with space over here, I'll probably wind up moving that back about 5 or 6 inches and re-rounding this corner. Which, just looking at the tape on the floor, I may do anyway. But you can see here the aisle's a little narrow here. I'd say it's about 20 inches, 18 to 20 inches in reality when I get it up. The floor tape is not totally accurate. I mean, I'm going off of waypoints and guessing at some squares on the plan as to inches and stuff. But you can see that it gets a little bit wider in here, and it's a little bit wider over here. It's probably about 22 inches over here, 24 inches. But the widest part is actually right here. Why is that? Because this is the yard. So I can reach across to the other side of the yard from here. This may be narrowed up a little because I just made enough space to hopefully put the Santa Fe Depot in, and I'm not exactly sure how much room that's going to take up. This looks a little bit too generous, so this may cut in a little bit more. But the biggest thing, and I've explained it to you on the plan, is that there will be no lower level staging because the tracks on this side, basically the staging has been brought up to this level and is outside of the main line right in here. Okay, so there'll be staging on the outside of the yard. Main lines will run through, go around the loop. You know, you've seen the plan, or I've showed you the plan, I hope, by the time I'm doing this video in advance. My mouth isn't working today. It does that a lot. But if I stand outside the shed and I just kind of pan around, you kind of get an idea of how the layout is here. It's not supposed to be windy today. What the heck is with this wind? from here, from here to there, I believe is about 80 inches, and I think it's like 83 inches or so across here. So you can see that I still have quite a bit of room for 3 or 4, even 5 people to stand in here. Like I say, I think this is, I think that's a little too generous. So a little bit of that will be cut off. I have some options that could be angled back, possibly even move back. I won't know any of that until I start laying track out and stuff. And because I'm not going under the layout, I had planned on using 1-inch foam and then thin L girders, so I could go down under it to get to the lower level. I'm just not into the lower level thing. I know that sounds kind of stupid coming from me putting lower levels in 2 layouts, but I'm hoping I've outgrown that. Anyway, I've made a lot of the area in here more generous than it needs to be, simply because, well, it's double track now. The whole main line's double track, and I wanted to leave room for businesses and buildings and that kind of stuff, because I have an awful lot of them to put on the layout. And that corner I made pretty extremely large because that's where most of the town is going to go. So I hope I have enough room in that area right there to put the town in. The little Y that you saw in the diagram over here is probably going to be the fuel depot, and the junkyard that I pulled off the other layout will probably be there. I don't know yet. I just have these visions in my head. But anyway, I just wanted to share this with you, and I hope you can kind of, it gives me a good visual as to how the layout's going to be. And I'm not quite sure that that's going to be the radius of that. Trying to figure out a radius and not having enough measurements off the track plan is kind of goofy also, but we're going with kind of that. So let me walk down here, give you a shot from the other corner back towards the unbelievably bright sunlight, but you can see the reflection off the tape. And I'm going to walk over to the other corner and let you look back towards the door. I believe that it's going to work. And still, none of it is too deep here. Well, the 4 foot is too deep, pretty deep. But even at 4 feet, if I stand on a stool, I can get to the wall up here and put things up here. I'm kind of planning on putting the trophy shelf maybe up there. I don't know. It's too hard for me to visualize where everything's going to go until we get this sheetrock and electricity done. And I haven't heard anything. Of course, the holiday weekend. Anyway, I'm rambling on, and I'm going to let you go. Okay, everybody. I hope everybody's kind of on board with this update, and I hope you like the plan. It works for me. I've had some comments that the aisleways are too skinny for a couple of people. Well, it will only be me and Gavin, and I think we can work our way around each other if we ever do switching out here. I don't know if we will. We hadn't in the past very much. It's mostly my layout, and I'll probably be operating mostly, or Gavin will be operating mostly. And I would assume that one of us would be doing switching and one would be running trains on the main line and coming into the yard, dropping off cars and so forth. I mean, that's kind of, with 2 people, that's kind of what you would have to do. But anyways, I hope you enjoyed the change to the plan and kind of how it's laid out in the room. I pulled up all the old tape, put all that new tape down. And to that end, what do I say? See, you already knew. I didn't even have to do it. Thanks for watching.